Hey, welcome to the Modcast. Actually, we're going to change the name. Recommendation from a viewer. Going to call it Modified. Um, the Anthem, the NFL. Guess I'll talk about that. I've been out for a while. Just getting the school year started. Busy with some stuff, but I needed to weigh in. First of all, as usual, my concern is not with the people at the top and what they're doing, but how we're all reacting to it. Because I'm a firm believer that all we can change really is ourselves and how we respond. So everything I do is try to encourage people to consider that. So, Trump, he shouldn't weigh in on that stuff. He's the president, okay? But by the same token, he's not threatening people, right? He's not intimidating people to suggest that you should fire people that don't do that. I mean, he shouldn't do it, like I said, because he's the president, because it looks like intimidation. But it's just another, in that capacity, he's just another citizen, okay? Which I wish he wouldn't act like that. There's a lot of things I wish about him. So, but in the meantime, here's the deal. You don't have rights when you're at work to do whatever you want. I mean, you can do it, but you got to be able to face the consequences, and that's really what heroism is. Now, a couple things. One, the guy from Pittsburgh, the vet, okay, who stood out there. I think one of the most appalling things for me was when he went to the press conference and said he was sorry and he'd made his teammates and his coach look bad. No, he didn't. They made themselves look bad. He made a choice, they made a choice. Okay? That's it. Look, if you want to respond to Trump saying something, have a discussion about it. But what I'm trying to do is get people to think critically. So if you're like, okay, well, screw Trump, we're all going to kneel. Well, hold on a sec. Let's think about what that's going to look like. Is that the best way to get the message to the president that we don't care what he thinks? Right? Or are we going to be, yeah, we have a right to do it. Okay, but is it right to do it? That's the question, again, I want everybody asking. Yes, you have the right to do it, but is it right to do it? Because those are two very different questions. And as I've said, are you trying to be right or are you trying to do right? Okay? What's the perception going to be? All right? Now you could say, well, I don't care what the perception is. But as Ben Shapiro notes, you're in a perception business. In other words, image is everything. Okay? How you perform on the field, how you carry yourself. You depend on that for fans. So you have to be mindful of what the perception is. As I do as a teacher, right? When I present a particular point or an argument, I have to be mindful of what the perception is. Am I, advocating something I don't want to appear to be advocating? Is that what I'm seeming to do? I have to be very careful with my language, and I am. Okay? Because I understand that. Now, my personal thing on the flag is this, okay? People say, well, I have the right. That flag, gives me the right to do it. The flag, though, to me, it's not about you. What I love about the anthem and the flag is, for just a few minutes, I get out of myself. And I go, here's this project that's not perfect, but we're all trying to do something better than anybody's ever done on the planet before. And you know what? We're doing all right. We're not perfect. We're never going to be. And I've talked about this in other videos, okay? But we're gonna commit to trying to be better together, okay? To stand up for the anthem, as I've said many times, and to acknowledge the flag, is not to say that the society it stands for is perfect. It's ridiculous. It's to say that the society it stands for is trying to be better. Unlike any in human history, it's trying to improve itself repeatedly. And it's willing to look at the hard things that need to be done and to fix them, as it's done throughout its history. And so again, but the crucial thing is, it's this business of it's about me. It's not about you. That for the few moments when you're standing up and acknowledging, for me, it's liberating, okay? So much time I spend worried about myself and all this stuff that I got to do, and how are people perceiving me, and I'm trying to get past that stuff, right? We all struggle with it. And the anthem to me is a great opportunity to remember that it isn't about me, that I'm part of a story of human progress in the West that has allowed for the greatest standard of living, increases in health care, okay, all these things. Again, it's not perfect. There are sins in its past, but it's better than it was. Why? Because it's self-examined. It's conquered. It's gotten rid of slavery. It's conquered fascist dictatorships, okay? And the notion that somehow it's about me in that moment. The flag guarantees me my right. Yeah, the flag also gives you duties, obligations. It's a gift. So you can either acknowledge the gift or choose to take advantage of it. Which isn't to say, again, I acknowledge you have the right to kneel. Of course you do. No one's denying you the right, except your work might. Okay? And the other thing that annoys people is most people understand that at your job, like I said, my job, I have to watch what I say. There's certain things I can't do. I can't do all my rights at work because I'm an employee. And I agree when I sign the contract that these are the terms I'm going to abide by, and I'm going to do this and that. That's what most people have to deal with at their jobs, okay? Because we're not multi-million-dollar athletes. So you again, realizing what the perception is going to be, now you can sit there and say, the whole race thing. I mean, never mind the fact, okay, that Kaepernick's whole protest and the BLM thing, hands up, the St. Louis Rams with hands up, don't shoot. Okay, that's not what happened. It isn't what happened. Okay, and statistically, you can see Heather McDonald. There's any number of studies you can see, including ones, an African American professor at Harvard, several that realize that African American men are not being killed by police officers in greater numbers. Okay, in fact, white perpetrators are being killed in police incidents more frequently. Okay, so the whole thing's based on a flawed premise. Now, none of this is to suggest that we shouldn't be all over police who abuse their power. Of course we should. In individual instances where that occurs, we have to. Okay? Regardless of the race of the victim. Okay, but so the whole thing is based on a flawed premise. And Kaepernick, people say, oh, well, he's being blacklisted. Oberman, oh, he's being blacklisted. Okay, Oberman's lost his mind. I mean, watch hard bastard on this guy. I mean, it's ridiculous. But Kaepernick, his numbers were way down. Okay, now, as we know, these guys who get out there, the Richard Shermans, Bennett, these guys, they're great players. Okay, you can be controversial if you're great at your job. Okay, we all know this to be true. You might think it's unfair, but the bottom line is the more value you have to the organization, the more they're going to let you slide a little bit. Okay, so when people are looking at Kaepernick, they're going, his numbers aren't that good, and he's got all this controversy. It's just not worth it. The numbers don't add up. Okay, it's not political. It's a business decision. And he's chosen at a time when his, numbers are down to make himself controversial. Some people say to get attention, right? But that's not how it works. It's just not. The NFL and the NFL owners we're not in the business of hiring political activists. We're in the business of hiring quarterbacks who can win and who have good numbers. And so, we might have a spot for you as a backup, but there's all this controversy surrounding you, and that's more headaches than it's worth for a backup QB. That's just the reality of it. Okay, so the whole source of the thing is flawed. And like Shapiro, these guys, what bothers me the most about Trump's involvement and everybody's reaction is that flag, that anthem, okay, should be the moment where we all stand up and go, it's not about me. It's not about my rights. Okay? It's about, because having the right to do something doesn't make doing that thing right. It just comes back to that. You can say, well, it's right to do it. Well, okay. Again, if it's about you, then all right. But be prepared to pay the consequences, which means getting fired, etc. And the rule book does state that players are supposed to be on the field standing. Not because you're endorsing oppression or you're endorsing the flaws in the system, okay? And it comes down to this very simple premise that I keep coming back to. You're either coming at the world from a position of gratitude or a position of resentment. Okay? If you're resentful, you're going to be bitter and angry your whole life. Because there's plenty of injustices, and the world is going to be full of it. Samuel Johnson, human life is everywhere a condition in which little is to be enjoyed and much is to be endured. Okay? So, if you're going to be resentful, then yeah, it's always going to be about you. But that's not a way to live your life. Anybody who's been in a 12-step program can tell you that, as well as anybody who understands, some of the primary factors of the world's religions. You have to begin with gratitude, and to be grateful is not to think something's perfect. It's just to go, look, I'm grateful for what I have. Grateful that I'm in a nation where you can make millions of dollars to play a game. That's good. I don't think it's a perfect nation, but at this moment, I'm grateful that we can all come together and watch a game and hang out and not have to worry about being blown up or killed or, or where we're going to get our next meal, right? Just in that moment. We can have our conversations later. We need to keep improving things. But don't make it about you. Because it's not. It's about all the people who've gone before and all the people who are going to come after who thought and who think that it's better to be a sovereign in your own right. It's better to be free to do these things than not, with all the imperfections and frustrations and injustices that come along with it. That's a better system. That's what it's about. Just in that moment. To me. So, that's my 2 bits on it. You know, it's none of it is to diminish. People say, "Oh, well, you're diminishing the race issue." No, I'm not. I'm not at all. What I'm saying is, in that moment, what we're doing is going, "Hey, cool, we can all come together and play a game, and watch it, and get excited and cheer, and see incredibly talented athletes do amazing things. It's cool." And where else are you going to have it? Where else than the West? With any kind of regularity and with the kind of, comforts that you do and safeties. So, the anthem and the flag, yeah, it represents your freedom to do those things. But it also represents your duty to remember that you can't do those things everywhere. And in that moment, I think you recognize that. Because it's not about you. Because at the core of it is, it's about doing right, not about being right. Each of us as individuals, not ordered from above. Yeah? Say, well, it's doing right to kneel for these other people. But not in that instance. Because the message you can send them is you can be resentful, you can be grateful. And then you come out of it in a different situation, you go, look, I stand for the anthem because I love the fact that we can have these conversations. But at that moment, I just love the fact that I live in a country where we can just play a game. Spend our whole Sunday watching people play a game because we've got all this other stuff figured out and we don't have to worry about it. That's pretty cool. I think we need to remember that. Because that, in my opinion, would be being more concerned with doing right than with being right. Post a link in the comments if you got any. Hit like, subscribe, share. Let me know if you got questions or things you want to talk about. Students, if you got stuff coming up in class you want to talk about, let me know. I had a student message me about the death penalty. I'm going to do some research and think about that one and come back with some thoughts on that. So, all right. Remember, do right before you worry about being right. All right. Cheers.